Yep, Chupacabra, elf with mange confirmed. I mean, elf kind of looks like he has mange. I mean, we'll talk about that in a second, because this is definitely a creature that's like, nah, that thing has mange. So, alright. Let's see. The Chupacabra, or Chupacabras, which literally means goat sucker in Spanish, is a legendary creature in the folklore parts of the Americas, with its first reported sightings in Puerto Rico in 1995. The name comes from the animal's reported vampirism. The Chupacabra is said to attack and drink the blood of livestock, including goats. Physical descriptions...
Sorry. The Chupacabra is as old as I am?
Yeah.
No. I was older.
As old as my brother. My brother was also born in 1995. Physical descriptions of the creature vary. Some describe it as reptilian and alien-like, primarily in Puerto Rico and Latin America, generally as a heavy creature the size of a small bear with a row of spines reaching from the neck to the base of the tail. Others depict it as more dog-like, particularly in the southwestern United States. Sightings have been reported in Puerto Rico since the 1970s, and this creature has since been reported as far north as Maine, and as far south as Chile. That contradicts what it says up there. It says its first purported sighting was in 1995, but then it says sightings were reported since the 1970s, so what? Anyway, as far north as Maine, as far south as Chile, and even outside the Americas in countries like Russia and the Philippines. All of the reports are anecdotal and have been disregarded as uncorroborated or lacking evidence. Sightings in northern Mexico and the southern United States have been verified as canids, dogs, afflicted with mange. According to biologists and wildlife management officials, the Chupacabra is an urban legend. So let's see.
That'd be interesting. You're interesting. Comrade, el Chupacabra.
There's a Chupacabra here. Oh. Alright, let's see. Appearance. The most common description of the Chupacabra is that of a reptile-like creature said to have leathery or scaly greenish-gray skin and sharp spines or quills running down its back. It is said to be approximately 3 to 4 feet, 0.9 to 1.2 meters high, and stands and hops in a fashion similar to that of a kangaroo. Another common description of the Chupacabra is of a strange breed of wild dog. This form is mostly hairless and has a pronounced spinal ridge, unusually pronounced eye sockets, fangs, and claws. Unlike conventional predators, the Chupacabra is said to drain all of the animal's blood and sometimes organs, usually through 3 holes in the shape of a downward-pointing triangle, but sometimes only 1 or 2 holes, which actually probably connects it to the people who think that livestock killings, weird livestock killings, are aliens. Here's a brief history. In 1975, a series of livestock killings in the small town of Moca were attributed to El Vampiro de Moca, the Vampire of Moca. Initially, it was suspected that the killings were committed by a satanic cult. Later, more killings were reported around the island, and many farms reported loss of animal life. Each of the animals was reported to have its body bled dry through a series of small circular incisions. The first reported attack, eventually attributed to the actual Chupacabra, occurred in March of 1995. Okay, so that makes sense. There are sightings as far back as the 1970s, but people didn't say, hey, it's all this one critter until 1995. Okay.
March 1995, the month I was born.
Are you the Chupacabra?
See.
The Chupacabra is David with mange confirmed.
I just want to say that I am not Mexican, and I am also a vegetarian.
That's something the Chupacabra would say. Let's see. 8 sheep were discovered dead in Puerto Rico, each with 3 puncture wounds in the chest area and reportedly completely drained of blood. A few months later, in August, an eyewitness named Madeline Tolentino reported seeing the creature in the Puerto Rican town of Canovanas, where as many as 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed. Puerto Rican comedian and entrepreneur Silverio Perez is credited with coining the term Chupacabra soon after the first incidents were reported in the press. Shortly after the first reported incidents in Puerto Rico, other animals' deaths were reported in other countries, such as Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, the Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, and the United States. In October and December of 2018, there came many reports of suspected chupacabras in Manipur, India. Many domestic animals and poultry were killed in a suspicious manner to the other chupacabra attacks, and several people reported that they had seen chupacabras. However, forensic experts opined, never seen that word before, that street dogs were responsible for the mass killing of domestic animals and poultry after studying the remains of the corpse. And the most recent piece of sighting was October 2019. A video recorded by Mundo Ovni showed the results of a supposed attack on chickens in the, I'm going to have to try and pronounce this, Cebu Requilo sector of Lares, Puerto Rico. And that is the history of the goatsucker. Thank you for bearing with for the slightly longer than normal description. So, this is one of those cases, as seen in the description and history of the animal, that this is almost certainly something with mange. And I have grabbed two animals, one that actually doesn't have mange. This hairless raccoon actually doesn't. It just has a weird genetic defect that means that there's only hair on its face and hands. But that coyote does have mange, rather severely, but not so severe, because while they do look more monstrous when they have pretty severe mange, it's heartbreaking to look at, and I didn't want to subject people to having to see it, so... Like, I mean, if you want to look it up, if you type up Chupacabra, you'll see a lot of pictures of animals with mange, and it's sad to look at, so... I'm not going to do that here. I will not do that to you guys. So, I have some sketches of the more commonly, at least the one that I always remember seeing from when I was a child, was this lizard with the fangs and the eyes and the modeling. And then I guess, more recent depiction of it looking like a funky glow-in-the-dark dog with spines. So, let's see. I'm probably going to lean more into the version that I saw before because it's more interesting to me than just, it's a dog, but porcupine. But I'm going to pull a little bit of that in there as well, so...
Put a little bit of lizard in there.
Yeah. We should... Everything this deserves just a small dusting of lizard. Just a pinch of lizard. So...
You sound like you're a witch there, Alex. Just a dash of lizard.
A dash of lizard. A little bit of mange.
A little piece of England, a little piece of nothing.
Nova says, a little bit of lizard as a treat. Yes, the Chupacabra can have some lizard as a treat.
I keep on getting the song once. A little piece of Poland, a little piece of France.
Oh my gosh, I have
always had
never heard that.
It's from a Mel Brooks movie where he plays Hitler.
Ah, well, that might explain why I have not seen that.
I think it's like...
Sounds like it would not have been the kind of movie that my parents would have allowed me to watch.
Yeah. It's basically... I think he plays like an actor or producer in it, but you see like the stage play, and obviously Mel Brooks is Jewish. And he's pretending to be Hitler, you know, in a comedic play. I think it might be set in Germany. I'm not sure. He's saying like, people do not know me. All I want is a little piece. A little piece of England. A little piece of Poland. A little piece of France.
Oh, it reminds me of The Producer.
I think that might be what I'm talking about.
Oh. Is Mel Brooks in there? The Producer is a weird movie. Its entire purpose is just like showing how a lot of production companies actually make a lot of money if a film flops because they just write it off as taxes. And then they get to like keep revenue.
AKA Warner Brothers' entire business plan as of this moment.
Yeah, they scrapped a whole bunch of stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, written and directed by Mel Brooks.
Oh, okay, so that was him then. And I have seen that. And then, of course, it's so... They have a guy... Like, I think it's because of the dude they hired to play Hitler. He ends up being, like, so serious that the role becomes really camp. And people think it's a comedy, so the play does spectacularly, and they're like, "Oh my god, we're screwed. Our budget for this was massive. There's no way we can make back the money." There we go. Give it lizard fangs and a tongue, and we'll give it some very big eyes, set back in like distended sockets. Which just means that we will have to make them very, very big when we make it cute later. We have to make the Chupacabra cute. It is the law.
Oh, I thought Mel Brooks was the one who sang it, but I think I'm wrong.
He might have just been the director. I don't know who played it. I didn't recognize the guy when I saw it, but, you know. I'm horrendous with the names of stuff. So, it's probably for the best that you not ask me. You know what's funny is I didn't realize that Chupacabra was supposed to actually be as big as it was described. Because, about 3 feet is, like, a little smaller than a 10-year-old child. I always thought that it was tiny. As far as the mysterious deaths, I won't go into too much detail because it's gross. But a lot of that is probably just farmers not understanding how decomp works after an animal dies of, wounds. Because they were like, oh, well, why did these particularly soft tissue parts of the body get, torn out? But the rest of it is still there. How come all of its blood is gone? Why are there these holes? When it comes to predation, a lot of animals, especially scavengers, go for the soft parts of the body first. And that's not necessarily the stomach. It's usually the reproductive region. And insects often will burrow small holes into the thing that they plan to eat. So you end up with a bunch of weird puncture wounds on your creature, and the blood is either missing probably because it bled out or because it got eaten by the insects that are making it their house.
The more you know.
Yay! I watched too much Discovery Channel. The Chupa... Nova says, the reproductive region. Ah, Chupacabra honoring its namesake. In the worst way possible, yes. In the absolute worst way possible. I'm going to give it a tail. I think it needs a tail. I think it needs a slightly long, bony, upsetting tail. A naked, icky tail. Like a rat. I also think it needs a prominent spine and not just like the pokers on its back. The pokers? Quills! What words am I saying? And now we have to put his little pokers on. What a cute little horrible rat monster. Oh! I didn't turn the music on, did I? Oh my goodness, we've been sitting here for 15 minutes with no sound. Sorry! There we go. Haunting critter lo-fi. Now here. Nova is chanting, the pokers! There we go.
Poker? I hardly know it.
Oh my god. Ferb says, I've had a rough day. I need my cryptid lo-fi. Blurred on YouTube, once again providing us with playlists of cool lo-fi music that do not get you flagged. Like a cool, awesome bro. Let's see. So it sits like a kangaroo, I guess. I just realized that the thing it's holding in this top sketch is a chicken. And I also just realized that that is a sheep and not a rock. I thought it had its hand on a rock. The lo-fi beats to encrypt your existence and kill unsuspecting victims too. Yes.
Okay. So it is right. So it's not the producers. It's a movie called To Be or Not to Be.
Okay, that's the one you were thinking of? So it's not the producers then.
So
okay.
apparently Mel Brooks decided to make 2 movies about Hitler and a musical.
Okay. Funky. Welcome back to Cryptid Lo-Fi Radio. Up next,
where we
music
talk about
to
decomposition and
music to haunt the moors to. When you're in an incorporeal state, think of us and tune in.
I hope that all you boys and ghouls out there are behaving yourselves.
Oh my goodness. There's a vampire on the lo-fi station now. Alright, we'll give it little...
Or at least Vincent Price, which,
I mean, he would have thought that would have been really cool. People are like, hey, Vincent Price, do you want to be on my cryptid radio station? He'd have been like, absolutely. I'll do it for free.
Oh, that sounds like an absolutely wonderful idea, my dear.
He's such a cool guy. I miss him. Then again, maybe it's for the best that he's gone now, because, with every horrible thing we discover about celebrities on a nearly daily basis, it's like, well, at least we can pretend that Vincent Price was just sort of an alright dude.
Yeah,
he was just a weird, creepy guy.
No controversies have arisen from him that I know of.
Part of me is tempted to dare the internet to find me controversies about Vincent Price, but I'm scared that they will, so I don't want them to.
From what I know, he did have one secret, which, well, not quite a secret, but he, I believe, was bisexual, and I know that he was very accepting of his daughter, who was a lesbian.
Ferb is screaming, no, leave it be. Let him remain pure. Yes. Don't ruin Vincent Price. He's gone. It doesn't matter anymore. He was a bi ally. And by himself. By himself. Oh my god. Lonely. Forever alone. No, he must have had a wife. I don't remember hearing about her, but he must have if he had a biological daughter. I say knowing full well that that's entirely possible that he didn't, but whatever. Let me dream. But he seems like the kind of guy who would have been really excited to be on a cryptid radio. I mean, hell, he's at the end of Thriller.
Yeah. This is an interesting history here. So, there's a real swing here looking at his personal life. Okay, so
I just noticed Nova's comment. Sorry, really quick. Nova left a comment that I didn't see. Which was, when you're laying dictums and maiming victims, tune in to FM 666 for all your cryptid tune needs.
When you're laying dictums and maiming victims, tune in to FM 666 for all your cryptid tune needs.
Amazing.
Thank you. But this is a history. Victoria Price's biography, Vincent Price, a daughter's biography, details Price's early anti-Semitism, an initial admiration for Adolf Hitler. According to his daughter...
Don't ruin him.
It gets better.
Okay.
No, this will not.
It's okay?
When he went to Germany and Austria as a young man, he was struck by a lot of things going on during the Weimar Republic and his dissolution of the empire. So when Hitler came into power, instead of seeing him as a dangerous force, he was sort of swept up in this whole idea that Hitler was going to bring German pride back. However, Price became a liberal after becoming friends with New York intellectuals such as Dorothy Parker and Lillian Hellman in the 1930s. So much so that he was grey-listed under McCarthyism in the 1950s for having been a pre-war, premature anti-Nazi. And after being unable to find work for a year, agreed to request by the FBI that he sign a secret oath to save his career. Victoria said that her father became so liberal that one of my brother's earliest memories is when Franklin Roosevelt's death was announced. My father fell backwards off the sofa, sobbing.
And said, "Oh, thank God, it's over."
Price denounced racial and religious prejudice as a form of poison at the end of the episode of The Saint, which aired on NBC Radio on July 30th, 1950, claiming that Americans must actively fight against it because such prejudices within the United States fuels the support for the nation's enemies. He was later appointed to the Indian Arts and Crafts Board under the Dwight D. Eisenhower administration. He called the appointment...
Crafts Board?
Yeah. He called the appointment kind of as a surprise since I am a Democrat. Price was supportive of his daughter when she came out as a lesbian and joined P-Flag as an honorary board member. He was critical of Anita Bryant's anti-gay rights campaign in the 1970s. Price was also one of the first celebrities to film a public service announcement to help allay public fears about HIV and AIDS. In an interview
Where was he when COVID hit? I mean, besides past. Also, hello, Roman!
In an interview in 2015, Victoria confirmed that her father confided in her his intimate relationships with men when she came out to him as a lesbian.
Oh, so it was a case of like, oh, thank God, me too.
Girl, I've been there.
I'm worried you would judge me, Dad. Oh, don't worry. I was scared you would judge me also for my bad taste in men. I'll put this one over here.
But that's a hell of a 180.
Yeah.
But thank God.
Oh, thank God, because when you first started reading that, I was like, no, don't destroy Vincent Price. Oops. And it's like, oh no, don't worry about it. This is about how Vincent Price was a badass. Oh, thank God.
This is about how the guy was willing to listen to people actually and change his mind. Like, oh, this is actually a little. This is not
to
what
be
I thought
fair, the whole reason that Stinky McAsshat got into power is because everybody did get swept up in it because he didn't seem like a psychopath at first, and then it was too late.
Yeah, but honestly, this is why I think there needs to be a biographical film about Hitler. It will never happen. There's not one fucking studio out there that would be willing to do this. But that is what
to just show the spiral into absolute insanity of how people can be deceived by a crazy
they need
person.
to show a charming, charismatic Hitler. And again, this is why this will never happen. Is they have to present him as this force of evil, this very obvious.
Oh, that he was like evil from moment one, except that does a real disservice to the people of Germany because they didn't know immediately that that's what was going to happen. Actually, a lot of them didn't know about it at all.
Yeah, the thing about him is that he's a great public speaker. So, which is how a lot of politicians manage to get too much power, is they would, they seem like the kind of guy you'd have a beer with.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, Roman, thank you, Roman. Oh, you've got a cold? Seems like everybody's getting a cold. We've had like a weird back and forth heat snap, depending on where you are. Like here, it was really, it was like super cold for a couple of days, and then it got super warm again, and then it got really cold, and then warm, and then cold. Like right now, it's 56 Fahrenheit outside, and it was like 40 last night, but then the day before it was 67. So it's been like going up and down. Oh, this is already looking too anime. Oopsie. Man, I'm trying to make it look reflective and shiny, but it's not. It's not. No. No. Alright, there we go. There we go. Fixed it. Now it doesn't look like anime. That is later.
Anime.
That's later. Mike will be joining us soon. He had stuff he had to go take care of. Oh,
Ooh,
Roman has another OC he would like to show to us. Awesome. Yeah, feel free to link. Oh, thank you, Ferb. One cute big eye. That's the problem. The second you put a reflection in an eye, people are like, oh, anime. And I'm like, no. That's how I got in trouble in art class one time. Yeah, Roman has been sharing his OCs with us. If you want to share OCs also, Nova, you are more than welcome to. I think I've told this story before. I've probably told this story several times, but back in high school, my art teacher did not like the cartoony and, you know, anime style that I was drawing in. So he would, you know, call it stupid and berate me for it. In a way that a teacher really shouldn't, you know? But then we had our final project, and what it was he had printed out a photo of Einstein. He blew it up super huge and cut it into pieces, and everybody got a piece. And they were going to draw that piece, and then it was all going to get posted up on the wall. And I wanted the part of... I specifically went and looked for one of his eyes. Because I wanted to do all of the light that was in it. Because I thought it would be, like, super cool to try that out. So I sketched the shape of it. And I tried to put all of, like, the detail that I thought I saw in it. I mean, it's hard to do that because it's, you know, it's blown up so big. And then I put in the specs for the colors of, for the light that was in his eye. Because it was a photo that had been taken with a flash bulb. And my teacher was like, told me to just draw it the way that it was in the picture. And I said, I mean, I am drawing it the way that it is in the picture, sir. And I really was. I wasn't trying to make it anime. I promise you. And he's like, you can't draw it like your stupid anime. This isn't a cartoon. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not drawing it that way. He says, yes, you are. You're putting those stupid shines in his eyes. And I'm like, well, it's because he's got light shines in his eyes. And he goes, no, he doesn't. I'm like, yes, he does. And I pointed the picture. I'm like, it's right here in the picture you gave me. He goes, no, he doesn't have them. And I pointed to the light shine in his eyes and I said, it's right there, you fucking idiot. And he kicked me out of the classroom. And I went and I stomped up to the principal's office. The lady looked at me and she said, oh, why are you here? And I'm like, teacher doesn't like my art. And she's like, ah. She's like, you want to just, like, sit there and read a book? And I'm like, yes. Oh, you'll love it even better, Ferb, because when I came back from college, I went to my brother's, oh god, it wasn't his graduation, it was something else at the high school. Because his graduation took place somewhere else. But, I was there and hanging out, and that teacher came up to me, and he's like, oh my gosh, Alex, I heard that you'd gotten into SCAD. And I was like, I did, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, I'm having a show at this museum. I have a display going up, and, you know, it'd be really nice if you would go so I could show them that, you know, one of my students got into this art thing. And I looked at him and I just kind of awkwardly went, no, I don't think I can. And I just walked away. Not tactful in the slightest. And I wish I'd done it differently. But I was just like, well, no.
Sir, I'm going to give you as much support as you gave me. And
Goodbye.
then walk away.
Yeah. Apparently he used to be a graphic designer who designed stuff for commercials, and then somehow along the way ended up becoming an art teacher, and I think he was mad about that because I think he wanted his career to expand more in graphic design, but he just couldn't find any more work in wherever it was he was looking. So and Roman has sent me a picture. His homunculus who wears an expressible mask. Her name is Fua. Oh. I like that her hair looks kind of like leaves and that the patterns on her coat look almost like roots because it makes me think of like a mandrake. Art teacher's questionable. Yeah, I mean, he was a high school art teacher. He wasn't exactly teaching us to paint like Picasso or something, but it sucks because he probably could have been a perfectly good teacher, but he was just hung up. Unlike, I guess, what was expected. Yeah, Ferb. Ferb says, it's so ick when somebody who was a jerk to you is suddenly so nice to you years later. Like, no thanks, dickbag. He treated me like shit. I will not forget. Yeah, that's actually happened to me with people I used to go to high school with. I met one at a convention. They were working behind the counter at a snack booth. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna do a dumb joke where somebody that I used to know.
Well, I didn't handle that one as well as I could have. I hadn't been out of college all that long, so I was younger than I was now, but still, you know. She was like, oh my gosh, it's you! I haven't seen you in forever! And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I guess so. I'm just here to grab, like, an order of food for a friend of mine who had, like, low blood sugar. So she was really hungry. She was sitting down somewhere and I was getting it for her. And she's like, oh my gosh, we used to be such good friends! And I looked at her and I'm like, you told me it wouldn't be possible for me to have a boyfriend because I was so ugly and unlikable that no one could ever love me. And she just, like, went pale. And the girl who took her place at the counter after that yelled at me and said, I don't know what you said to her, but now she's in the back room crying. And I was like... Looking back on that, I'm like, fuck, I wish I had not. I wish I had just awkwardly been like, yeah, bye.
I mean, I
mean, it was true, but damn, I shouldn't have. It was over 10 years since that had happened. I know I don't owe kindness to them, but I wish I'd taken the higher ground, because I don't like making people cry. Oh, cool turnaround.
Did she even, like, try and apologize or say anything to you?
Oh, no. No. None of the people who bullied me in high school have ever apologized to me. For chanting be petty. I guess in this instance it was okay, but I don't know. Part of me looks back on that and goes, man, I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I'd been nicer. Not like well, not even been nice, really. I wish I'd just been like, uh-huh, and walked away. Yeah, okay. How are her faces? I like them. I actually like the ... one because it looks slightly disgusted. It makes it look like she, like, something has made her go, oh, to the point that she's, like, aged 30 years. Like, you know how in an anime when something happens, a character will, like, turn into stone or their face just becomes, like, bizarrely heavily detailed and they're just like, like that. I mean, it could have been a wake-up call, Ferb, you're right. But I mean... Unfortunately, I'm also aware that a lot of people who are bullies were bullies because they were going through shit of their own. So True. I don't know what kind of fucked up shit she was going through. I mean, I hope that she's better now, but I do think it was a little bit like, we weren't friends. What the fuck are you talking about? You made fun of me, like, on the daily. What? Roman says, well, I've got many bullies over the years, and many I defend myself. It's very very brutal, and I still regret it. Yeah. It feels like a no-win scenario when you get bullied. Because you look back on it and you're like, man, I wish that I'd done that. I wish I'd taken that differently. But then at the same time, it's like, when people are that mean to you, like, what are you gonna do, you know? You need to defend yourself, because it's not okay for them to take out their crap on you. But then you can't help but look back on it and go, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I'd just left. I wish I'd just walked away and not given them anything. Especially when you realize as an adult that that nothing makes people more angry when you don't react to something that they really want you to. Yeah, and that's true too. Ferb says, you know, you also have to remember that you did the best you could with what you had at the time. And yeah, that's true. You know, I didn't have any of the information I do now. So, even though I can look back on it and go, man, I wish I hadn't said that with intent to hurt that person like I had been, but at the same time, like, you know, On-the-spot things put people in a different place than if you had had time and forethought, says Ferb. And that is also true. It's not like I knew she was there and was like, I will have to plan this. How do I speak to this person after all the things that they did to me? What's the ultimate burn?
Now is the time for my revenge.
Ah. It is time for retribution. To quote D-Luke. Oh, Pastor says, my regrets are having not done worse. I mean, in some cases, you look back on it and you're like, man, I wish that I had just socked that person. And sometimes...
Oh, well, I'm sorry, you finish your story.
Oh, no, it's okay, that was it. It's just like, sometimes you look back on it and you're like, man, I should have kicked him in the shins.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. Or whatever.
I was looking through Instagram, and there's a little funny thing here on Crit Fail memes.
Mm-hmm.
This is from someone called Brave Crab on Tumblr. Pitch, a Muppet movie where the Muppets play D&D. And it cuts between the Muppets around the table and the fantasy being acted out. But instead of it just being the Muppets dressed up in D&D fantasy costumes, it's celebrity actors, but the Muppets do the voices.
I would watch the shit out of that!
And the actors have to act how those Muppets would. Imagine a barbarian played by Jason Momoa, voiced by Miss Piggy.
Yes! Yes!
I would like to try and seduce the dragon.
I would like to rage! Hi-ya!
I'd like to rage on that Black Knight.
What? Is it water?
That needs to happen. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, it really does. Pitch it to a studio! Kermit would play a rogue, says Nova. True.
I feel like he'd be a wizard. Or like the most basic class possible.
Wait, did you get hit, Roman, or did you hit them? I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sense of what Roman typed. I love this Chupa too. He's a funky little lizard rat man. Yeah, because Roman said, no, I immediately cried after I had punched on the neck. And I want to clarify, are you the one who got punched, or are you the one who did the punching?
I'm gonna guess that it had been punched in the neck.
I hit them. Okay.
Oh.
Well, I mean, regardless of who hit who, I was gonna say that actually makes a lot of sense. Because, I mean, it's high emotions, and, you know, you defended yourself, you hit them, and then you were like, oh no, I've hurt them, and I didn't mean to do that, but they hurt me, but you don't punch people, and so, you know, you cry. You didn't mean to do it. So, I mean, I think that it's nothing to be, like, embarrassed over if it's like, oh, I hit them and then I cried. I mean, in the heat of the moment, we do a lot of things to protect ourselves. It's like Ferb said, you do what you can do with what you got. And sometimes that is to kick a person in the shins and then burst into tears. And sometimes it's to unintentionally say something incredibly savage. Oh. Well, yeah, getting hit in the neck does mean that you can't really breathe well. I imagine that was very scary for you and for them. Were they okay? I mean, I'm assuming that they were okay. I can't imagine you would tell us a story if it was like, nah, they died. I think that would be... I don't think that would be something you would have shared. They are fine now. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it was probably very frightening to have hit a person and be like, oh no, they're not okay. You know, maybe have I hurt them, like, incredibly bad. So,
sorry.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I stepped away for a minute there. I thought there was an emergency in the house. My mother just had to kill a spider.
Ferb says, I have learned a lot of compassionate talk because I'm terribly harsh on myself, to the point where people are shocked that I speak to myself the way I do. I'm working on that. Yeah, you know what? Confession? Me too. I don't talk that way on stream, but I have a tendency to put myself down. And I really shouldn't, you know? The way that I try to look at it, and this might be helpful to people, is whenever I'm feeling like I'm, you know, like I say something really negative to myself, I try to think of it in a term of like, if it was my friend, you know, if it was my friend who was saying these things to themselves, you know, what would I think of that? Would I be like, well, I mean, you're right, you did fuck, you know, like, you're a fuck up, or would I be like, hey now, you don't say that about yourself? And then it begins the mental thought process of like, okay, well, if I would say that to them, why would I let myself say this to myself? And I find that helps. Or like if I'm the one having like a overwhelming situation, it's like, all right, well, if my friend were here and they were the one in the overwhelming situation, what would I say to them? You know, how would I try to calm them down? And I find that works. Because sometimes it's, like, so much easier to help somebody else who's having the same problem as you than it is to give yourself that same advice and then take it, you know? They're like, that's such good advice. And you're like, yeah, if only I could take it myself, huh? I really need to listen to my own damn advice. Shit. I think we can all be really harsh on ourselves sometimes.
Here we go again.
Oh no, here we go again. She's being self-disparaging. Time to stop that crap. Roman says that the facial expressions from the character he shared with me are based on the portraits of Ludwig the 9th. Or, sorry, the 19th. Am I reading that right? XIV. 14th. Roman numerals are not my forte. 14th. I used to be able to tell at like a glance what it was like. Oh yeah, that's the number. But nope. And Nova says, every time I give somebody advice, I preface it with, do what I say, not what I do, because I can't for the life of me take my own advice. Yeah, taking your own advice is hard.
I'm a workplace coach. Frequently, I'll use the expression, don't do what I just did.
Yeah, don't do what I just did. There may be times where you'll have to do this. Don't do it. Please don't do it. I mean, I know you'll have to, but don't. Please. Oh god, and all I can think of is like when I worked at FedEx for one winter break. And what a miserable experience that was. But the fact of the matter is that they told us all these things that we weren't supposed to do, and then almost immediately my supervisor was like, I need you to do these things. And I'm like, didn't they say we shouldn't do that? And he's like, yeah, but there's no other way to fix the problem. And I'm like, oh, okay. Climb up that chute and kick that package until it pops loose, and then run back down before it, you know, runs you over, because that's an oven. But be careful when you turn around, because there's an I-beam right behind you. So if you whirl around and you don't duck immediately, you're going to smack your head on that. And if you get knocked unconscious and fall down the chute, you might get stuck between the wall and the truck. And I'm like, why do you want me to do this? I'm 17 years old.
Yeah,
seems like it's not good.
There's a little thing they could have done there called investing in a big stick.
Get a big stick. That's what I thought.
Literally, that's.
But he couldn't I think we did have a stick. We had like a broom. And Nova just shouted, "The bro gave you a quick time event." Yeah. I think the broom couldn't reach.
We literally have like we have a 15-foot extendable pole we have to use that doesn't even reach the top where we need it to go.
Yeah, and I think that's what that was.
Yeah, we have like periods where we have to get engineers to climb up chutes, but it's not nearly that dangerous.
Oh, well, they got me to do it because I was the smallest and could fit. And I was like, this is such a bad idea. And it did slide down quick after me, like, whoo! I did get out of the way, though. I was fine. Thankfully, never got hurt. I was just very hungry because I didn't get a lunch break. And the drive to the place was 2 hours, so I only ever had dinner and a muffin, because my breakfast was a muffin. That was a terrible job, and I never want to do it again.
They put you in danger and then let you have a lunch break?
I didn't get it. Well, I got to ask for a break, but I never had lunch. And they were always like, you don't work quite long enough for that. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, really, we both know that I should be in small packages and not loading a truck. And it was around Christmas, so there were a lot of greeting cards in boxes. And these were like a box of like 1,000 greeting cards. That shit is so heavy.
Yeah. Paper gets heavy quickly.
I stacked it the best I could, and he's like, you need to stack this higher than that. And I'm like, I can't reach that high. I cannot hold it up that high, man. I can't. And he gave me this face like, you're making excuses, and then was like, just deal with that other truck then, and I'll have someone else do this. And I'm like, thanks.
Health and safety standards are in our place are that pallets of boxes, like should not be stacked higher than shoulder height.
Oh, should be
frequently we get on where they're like 7 or 8 feet high.
Like a hump. There we go. Yeah.
And I'm just like, does Amazon hire NBA players? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think some people have stools, but yeah, it's just like, just pack it. Just fucking do it. I mean, you've seen the conditions they have for their workers. It's awful. This was also the same place that was like, yeah, if you work here in the summer, just be aware that sometimes we can have 110% humidity in here. And I'm like, how the fuck? How the hell do you have 110% humidity? At 100%, isn't it raining? And they're like, yeah, but obviously we're not outdoors, so it wouldn't be raining. And I'm like, yeah. Ferb said, I'm so baffled when people just don't realize that bodies have limitations. Like, excuse me? Yeah. Like, he looked at me like, you should be able to do this, except that the physical test that we had to do to make sure that we could work there was to pick up a 50-pound box and carry it from one end of the room to the other and put it on a table. That's what I had to do. I wasn't picking up 100-pound boxes of greeting cards and stacking them over my head. That wasn't something I was asked to do.
What's 50 pounds in kilos?
Hold on a second.
Well, I'm doing it in the math.
Oh.
22.
Yeah.
In our workplace, anything over 20 kilos is a 2-person lift.
Yeah, it wasn't there, at least not at the time. Keep in mind that this was back when I was 17, and I am definitely not 17 now. It was way over 10. Yeah, a lot of people had back injuries. It was well over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, one more drawing of food. Let me see. Roman has sent me another picture. Is she being attacked by God rays up top? She looks very distressed. She's like, ah!
I'm being attacked by God.
Oh, yeah. Ferb works in human resources and says, as an OH and S person, I am so mad when people just disregard shit like that. Oh, 100%. And I really should have just been... what I really should have done is I should have looked at my dad and been like, this is awful. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not coming in again. But I needed the money for something. I just don't remember what. But I needed it for something, so I kept going. Or maybe he was like, oh, you need to do it.
Yeah. Ferb, I recommend that you do not come to work at my place. The guy in charge there has literally defied, defied health and safety stuff. Like, we have what's called a safe systems of work. And if he wants to make any changes to it, he needs to first change the safe systems of work. He shouldn't be changing anything about how the place works until then. He had a meeting with the health and safety guy, and then he just told all the managers on the floor, do what I said until we've got this worked out, even though we haven't changed anything yet.
That seems like a problem that the union would have with that immediately.
They do. The problem is this guy just wants to go and keep ignoring it.
Oh boy. Yeah, Ferb says WHMIS only came out in the 1890s, so health and safety was not what it is now. Yeah. I mean, this was 2000 and, let's see, I graduated high school 2005, so this would have been 2006, I guess? Oh, did I not say the 1980s? I thought that I'd said the 80s. Maybe I did not.
Yeah.
I said 1880s. Oh.
Oh.
I meant to say 1980s. Sorry about that.
Well, there was definitely no health and safety.
There was definitely no health and safety in the 1880s. It was deal with it or die.
It would send your children into the furnaces.
Yeah, send your child to the mines. Roman says that his two inspirations for his character Fua are the fan-made Mario character Shy Gal and Taukaka from Blaze Blue. I haven't played Blaze Blue, so I actually don't know who that is. Forgive me.
Let's. I have no idea. I'm not playing it either.
Blaze Blue is a fighting game, I believe.
Isn't that where the Jacko pose originates from, or is that something else?
Maybe. Oh, Roman's disappointed in me. Nova says the 1880s were legit just a battle royale game. Yeah. Ferb says the first laws on H&S were in the form of the OSHA Act in the 1970s. Health and safety is new, and people are still stuck in the mindset that they don't need it. Yeah, that's true.
It's
Bosses especially are like, you don't need that.
Really,
Jacko is from Guilty Gear.
It really gets you sometimes when you think it hasn't been a legal necessity to have seatbelts until the 1970s. That is crazy.
It's like, oh my god, that was like a bit, like a little longer than 10 years before I was born is when people were like seatbelts. And lest we forget how humans never change ever, when it became mandatory to install seatbelts and then against the law to not wear them, people sent the guy who was like, you know, we're passing the law, you can't not wear it, it's federal, you'll get arrested or fined if you don't. And people sent him so many death threats. So when people are like, yeah, when people are like, I don't understand how you could be like, oh my gosh, the mask debacle. Nah, people just are like that.
I'm not gonna wear my seatbelt. This is America.
Yeah. I don't need to.
And it also gets me with like people,
like you do.
Like, you know, people in the workplace like to say, "Oh, but the manager told me to do this," and I'm saying health and safety says this, but the manager, I'm like, "Do you think?"
Yeah, but if you lose your job because the manager did that, you can sue.
Yeah, and like if you're this is one thing I don't get. There's, especially considering if you're part of a union, it can be surprisingly hard for you to lose your job.
Yeah. But if you get hurt, you will definitely be out of a job, and then you have to deal with worker comp, and I hate worker comp. I worked for a law firm that did workers' comp for, let's see, the first one I worked for 4 years, and then the other one I worked for 2 and change. And workers' comp is horrible, because guess what they expect you to do once you have a job again? That's right, pay the money back. Maybe not all of it,
yeah,
but you were expected to return that worker compensation money. That unemployment, they want it back. Ferb is going,
so you get taken out of action, they pay you money, and then the moment you're healed up, they want you to pay it back?
They do!
What? Why not just pay for, like, the amount of time you're out of work?
Oh, because you didn't earn that money. You didn't work.
But you were injured.
Yeah, I know,
so
but you're not injured now.
So let me get this straight. If I was in a fucking coma, thanks to my job, and I all of a sudden got out and was ready to work again, they want me to pay it back because I was.
Oh, if you were in a coma, you wouldn't have gotten workers' compensation because you wouldn't have been conscious. That would have been an argument with your health insurance company. That would have been different. You can't apply for worker comp if you're unconscious. You can't sign the paperwork.
What if I lost my leg or something?
We actually had that happen. And you know what they tell you? Well, just apply for jobs that you can do. I kid you not. It literally happened. We had a guy, and I can talk about this as long as I don't give away personal information, just in case anyone is worried. I know how it works. We had a guy who was transporting stuff, and he was dropping it off at one of the places he was supposed to. And when he was returning to his vehicle, he stepped over a little chain that was bolted across the driveway to keep vehicles from going in. And it wasn't something he could unhook or unlock, so that's why he'd had to walk up the drive. And when he went back a second time, his foot got caught, and he fell. And the thing he'd been carrying was made of glass, and the glass shattered, and he landed on it, and it cut his legs up real good. So he got rushed to the hospital. And if you're ever injured and you've got an attorney for something, please, I beg you, tell them when stuff changes for you, because that can change everything with your case. Case in point, this guy, we knew the guy was going in for surgery to fix the injuries to his leg. He didn't tell us that they took his legs until 2 months after that had happened.
Jeez.
I'm like, he's like, oh, I didn't think it was important, and I'm like, Sir, it's so important. But he had to fill out forms and to prove that he was applying for jobs, because Workman's Comp was like, well, just because you don't have legs doesn't mean you can't work. It just means you can't do anything that would require you to walk somewhere. So you can't do delivery jobs anymore, but you can sit at a desk. And I'm like, oh my God.
I mean, it really infuriates me about...
Yeah, meanwhile in America.
Because I don't know if we do this in the UK. I hope we fucking don't. But I've heard that if you are disabled, like you're in a wheelchair, or you're missing a limb or something like that, they will time you on how long it takes to do your job. And then they will compare you to a regular person. The longer it takes you to do that is measured as a percentage. And then they take that percentage off of your hourly wage.
Oh!
So say a disabled person does a job 25% less than a fully able person.
You only get 75% of your pay?
Yes.
Oh, that's bullshit. Oh, that is bullshit. I don't know if we do that here, but that's bullshit.
No, I'm talking about you guys.
Oh, us? I had not heard of that. That could easily be true.
I heard about that a couple of years ago.
That could easily be true, but that seems like that should be illegal. But then again, I don't...
I think it's like part of a government program to try to encourage employers to, employ disabled people, is that they don't have to pay them as much or something.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I've not heard of that, but that doesn't mean it's not true. It's something I'll have to look up later. Ferb says, a short time ago, Ferb said, I remember my grandpa complaining about how he had to wear a seatbelt, and he claimed that they were death traps. He said that to me as a child. It was in my lifetime. It's wild. Oh yeah, I've heard people, older people complain about that as well. And they're like, what happens? You get in an accident, it'll cut your head off. And I'm like, I mean, it won't. And they're like, well, I can feel it against my neck. What if it cuts my neck? And I'm like, I think it's better to have a small cut on your neck than it would be to go through your windshield, because I'm pretty sure that one of those is definitely lethal. Pastor says, we say, oh, the past was so barbaric, but let's not forget that we didn't make wearing masks when sick mandatory until 2 years ago during a worldwide pandemic, and it's still not mandatory. This is correct. And lest we forget, here in the United States at least, we had a pandemic before this one. It was a flu pandemic. Back in, when was it? 50s? 20s? When was it? It was quite a few years back. And people back then had to wear masks too. And they actually enforced that. Because when people were like, oh, well, how are we going to enforce the mask thing?
Here it is.
We couldn't possibly enforce that. And you can find pictures of the police grabbing people walking down the street outside, being like, you need to wear a mask, sir. And he's like, no, I don't. They're like, well, then you're gonna go to jail.
Here we go. This is from September 17th. Sorry, you want to continue? Oh,
no, that was it. I was just talking about, like, it's ridiculous how short our friggin' social memory is. Societal memory, there we go.
So, this is from NPR. Workers with disabilities can earn just $3.34 an hour. Agency says law needs to change. This is from September 17th, 2020.
Oh god, so it is oh my lord, I had not heard of that till now. That's awful.
Jerry D'Agostino had a job but couldn't afford a few things he wanted to do. A meal out once a week, go to the movies, attend Comic-Con. He was working alongside other people with disabilities at a center in Rhode Island, doing what he calls bench work. Rote tasks like fitting rings on heating tubes, packaging ice packs, assembling boxes for jewelry. If I remember correctly, I remember doing a lot of it, and my first paycheck was only $12, says D'Agostino, who now works as a supermarket courtesy clerk. I just question myself as, I really don't want to. I really don't want to keep doing bench work for my whole life. D'Agostino was making so little because since 1938, U.S. labor law has carved out a rule for some people with disabilities, saying they're being paid less than minimum wage. The New Deal era law was intended to encourage employment of more people. But
I actually remembered another shitty thing about being disabled, but go ahead.
But a new report by the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights says the exemption should be phased out because it's been trapping workers in exploitative and discriminatory job programs. This call by a top federal civil rights watchdog is a major milestone in the difficult history of so-called sheltered workshops and other sub-minimum wage employers. They pay tens of thousands of people with disabilities an average wage of $3.34 an hour, the report says, for tasks like bagging newspapers, shredding papers by hand, or wrapping silverware and napkins. They calculate wages by regularly timing how long it takes each worker to complete their task and comparing that productivity to an experienced worker without disabilities. The fate of these work programs has been contentious. Disability rights advocates say that the programs limit the workers' potential while using them as cheap labor. But some workers' families and the organizations themselves argue that eliminating them would threaten the well-being of people who are happy to be there and take away their choices.
But it's not about... Here's the thing, is that if that stuff is eliminated, the problem isn't with this rule that's keeping you from being exploited, it's with companies. So there need to be rules in place saying that a company can't discriminate against you that way.
Yeah, and they're basically trying to say, and these people are making the counter argument, well, if they can't pay us cheaper, they have no reason to go ahead and, employ us, which is not beneficial to you.
Yeah, and I understand that because that is a genuine concern. Don't misunderstand. I'm just saying that like, instead of, it's heartbreaking to see that because what the problem should be then is, okay, so if the reason that this is in there is because they won't hire us or pay us a living wage, then one of two things needs to happen. Either something needs to be put in place to make it be illegal to discriminate based on that. Like, if they can do a job, then you should, they should be paid a proper amount of money to do it, and you shouldn't be allowed to ignore them potentially being slower. Or, we need to have a universal income, so people who have a disability and can't be, or we can't hire them, can still live, because a person's value and right to live should not be based on whether or not you can do physical labor. That's bullshit. We are beyond that at this point. However...
Yeah, I mean, like, I had it... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the thing I remembered is, you want to know what's also bullshit? Even if they changed that, it wouldn't... Even if they changed that rule, it actually wouldn't help unless another rule is changed. That rule being that a disabled person is not allowed to possess more than $1,000 in their bank account at one time. If you have more than that... Why the
hell is that a rule?
Don't know. There is some probably bullshit explanation for it, but if you have more than $1,000, you will lose your disability money. Which is awful, because that could be as much as like, oh, you have $1,005 in your bank account right now. Guess you're not gonna get that money that you really needed to, like, maintain the... I'm trying to think of something besides a wheelchair. Wheelchair's the first thing that comes to mind. It's like, oh, that you need that new assistant apparatus for your wheelchair. Not getting that. Oh, that medication you needed? Nah. We're not covering that anymore. You have too much money. That's absolutely insane to me. Because it sure as shit doesn't work that way with hyper-wealthy people. It's not like they don't get health insurance because they can totally pay out of pocket for everything, That's so asinine to me. Also, Roman, my suggestion for scary face... Fua's real face should be very scary, but I need more ideas. My suggestion, giant mouth, human teeth, no other facial features. Yeah, Nova says, if you're not literally Stephen Hawking reincarnated, get the fuck off our disability program. Like, right? Roman says, in Germany, I bet paying disabled people less is very illegal because it breaks human rights like human dignity. Yeah. See, unfortunately, our Constitution does give us the right to life, liberty, and happiness, but dignity is not in there. So, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness you'd think would, you know, cover all of that, but no. That would be communist! You don't want to be a dirty, dirty socialist, do you? I mean, I'm a dirty, dirty socialist, so...
Right.
I think that all basic living necessities, from housing to education to, at this point, the internet and cellular phones, because we can't work without smartphones now. We can't. Or access the internet, should be things that you just have. Healthcare, water, food, all that shit.
I'm gonna link that
Your
article
taxes
down
can
in the
totally pay.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, go ahead.
Article,
you can link it.
Yeah, down in the chat so people can spread that around, because I thought that would be more common knowledge.
Yeah, I didn't know that, and I worked in, like I said, I worked in worker comp for almost 7 years. So that was not something I was aware of. I was aware of they're going to make you pay that medical back, or the money they gave you while you were on compensation, or unemployment back. But I hadn't heard of it.
I don't think it's for, like... Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I do not believe it is for every single job that a disabled person will do, but it's something that certain employers do.
Yeah, where they're like, oh, give them a throwaway job. You don't got to pay them that much, but they surely must need to do something. Was probably the stupid thought process for that.
I trained up a person like last month who only had one hand, and there was no sort of like procedure or anything where I had to time the guy or anything. All they asked me to do was, you know, write a little report up saying, okay, this guy
just make sure he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things about the job he couldn't do because, you know, unfortunately, we have these things where it requires straps and so on. In order to do that, you need to have two hands in order. And I said to him, you know, so unfortunately, a lot of the health and safety things say, you know, both hands on these handles or something along those lines, two hands to pick up a box and all that kind of thing. I said, okay, so that's one thing I'm going to be very honest with you about, but you know your capabilities better than anyone, so I'm going to go through all the training with you like I would do normally, and we're going to see, you know, what you can do, what you can't do, and then we're going to see if you're comfortable enough with anything, and then train you up on that. And he's able to do 2 jobs, and I've seen him multiple times in the building doing that job. The guy's smart. He used to be like, not quite an engineer, but I think he used to be accountant or something like that before he came over to this country.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, I want to reiterate, you shouldn't have to do a job in order to, like, live, but the point is that people can do jobs, and it's just this stupid notion of, like, you need to be able to do it to this absurd level of efficiency, or this speed to satisfy my bottom line, and if you can't, you don't deserve the right to work somewhere. So that's,
they're trying to
like,
implement...
so stupid to me that that's the case. Oh, no, it's okay, go ahead.
They're trying to put a kind of thing like that in there, where they're saying, like, we want people to be able to, like, change a cart in 14 seconds, and I'm like...
I don't think a regular non-disabled person could do that, sir. Pretty sure an athlete would do that. But
no, they're not specifically a disabled person, but the general manager and other managers have been going and looking at people and timing them to trying to figure out, like, what is the minimum amount of time that these people can, you know, do a job in order to increase productivity. And I want to stay away from that because, for one thing, that is not their department. We have a special thing called time and movement that needs to decide that, and that needs to be agreed with other people. So I am not implementing things that it's just crazy because they're trying to do all this stuff that is...
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. Just really quick, Roman asked me something. Do you have any questions about my Fua? I need to go soon. I don't have any questions about her off the top of my head. No. But I do think that she is an interesting little design. Like I said, I like that she looks kind of like a mandrake. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I like that she looks kind of plant-like. And with your comment before about needing a scarier face, one of the rules of thumb I had been taught about horrifying things is to emphasize one facial feature and get rid of the rest of them. Except maybe the nose. I think just being a nose and having no other facial features might be more funny than scary. But, you know...
That just makes you British.
It just makes you Nigel Thornberry. But if you gave her, like, just a giant mouth and no other facial features, or, like, just an eye, a big eye, or, like, many eyes and nothing else, that would be suitably creepy. Or hell, even if she had nothing under the mask, where it was just a blank, textured skin surface, would probably also be creepy. So that is my thoughts. Oh, Nova says, the smeller. I must activate my super sniffer. Roman says, actually, I had a nose head monster called the Hacker. That's great. Yeah, like I said, be creative, even though I say, like, oh, I don't know if that would be creepy looking, if that's what you're going for. You know, don't hesitate to try. But yes, I'm sorry, David, I interrupted you. Please continue.
I think I was pretty much done.
Okay. I didn't want to cut you off. It's just I saw that he said I have to go soon. So I wanted to make sure.
Oh, don't worry. I've been cutting you off all day.
I mean, that's the curse of, like, being audio only, you know? We're not in the same room, so I can't see you. You know? Oh, arms come out of the nose holes. That's actually kind of delightful. I like that. I also like monsters that could be silly, but are actually quite dangerous. You know?
Imagine if it's just covered in snot and mucus on the way out.
Oh, slimy.
That's not nice.
Oh, also, without spoiling it, I watched gameplay of Scorn, so I think I've seen basically the full game at this point. I'm eager to play it. There was never a case that I saw of detailed nudity, but there was some blood and violent moments that definitely can't be on YouTube. The phrase "putting a baby in a blender" comes to mind. Don't do that.
The moments of... You can't quite call it nudity because of how everything looks, but there is definitely things that look sexual that will be in the game.
Yeah, there's some things that are, like, reminiscent of that, but... Okay. Roman will tell us more about that monster on a different stream. He's got to go. Alright, you have a good day, Roman. Bye-bye! Nova says, this conversation is reminding me of that body horror game where your entire body is made out of hands. Like, the heart is a contracting hand, the eyes are closed hands with the fingers popping from the circle. It's creepy shit. Oh, that sounds cool. What game was that? Also, I think we have our Chupacabra. I think this is him.
Chupacabra.
I think this is the little Chupa.
It looks like a decent close. The weird sort of lizard people in Star Wars.
Just give him some, like, random fur piffs. Gonna do that. I'm gonna give him some
fur in his eye, make him extra creepy that way.
Some fluff over here. Actually, it's gonna be like a weird eyebrow. The game is literally called Out of Hands. Super Horror Bro made a video on it, I believe, says Nova. I'll have to check that out.
This is really getting quite out of hands.
There we go. So now we have some floof in a few places. So we have the mange. Mange confirmed. Fur patchy confirmed. Patchatuft. Let's get a little bit of it on the tail too. Kind of like a possum. drooping off the tail. Fluff, droop off tail. There we go. Excellent. And bothering. It's got a flippy tail like a possum. Alright. Now, fit on screen. Come here. Yeah. Yep. Make it nice and big so we can see. And now we get to make a cute version of it. Let's do it. Let's make him cute. Yeah, he probably walks around making like trilly, snorty rat noises. And then you just hear and then moo. And you just hear meow. The goat is down. Excuse me.
RP, goat is down.
Goat is down. Goat is down. I don't know why I like the turning your nose up at the viewer pose for some of these creatures, but I kind of have that, like,
They're just superior to us.
Wake me up before you go, Oat. Says Nova. Eyeball. Oh my gosh, when Mike gets here, I'll ask him to link it to you. But there was like a great mashup I saw yesterday of like Never Gonna Give You Up and oh, it's a song that goes, You Didn't Have to Cut Me Off. What is that one? Somebody I Used to Know. There we go.
Somebody that ain't.
Yeah, there's somebody did a mashup of it, and it actually sounds like kind of amazing.
So it's like, I'm gonna give you up. I'm gonna let you go.
I think that I would be flagged for copyright if I played it, or I'd go get it.
No worries. I can always find that Mr. Michael.
Yeah, so I recommend looking for it. It's a mashup of those two songs.
Somebody that I used to go.
Actually, the music video for that is kind of cool. It's that every time it cuts back to that guy, he's becoming more and more part of the background.
Need to go blow me.
Yeah, I've had a sniffy nose all day too. I'm trying not to sniff into the microphone, but I don't think it's working. It stinks because I have allergies kind of all the time, so that's one of the pros of editing all of my audio from like my Let's Plays and stuff, is that I can get rid of those noises.
Yeah, I delivered some voice acting yesterday, and I had to edit out all the times I blew my nose or was like coughing. It's like, take one. Ugh, I'll have to go to bed soon.
Alright, if you need to go, it's okay.
I'll give it another half hour or so.
Okay, in a half an hour I'll be just about done. It'll be 6 then.
Yeah. Somebody that I used to know.
But you didn't have to cut me off.
But you didn't have to get me. Yeah. This is why I am a voice actor and not a singer.
Well, singing's like anything else. It's your vocal cords are muscles just like any other part of your body, and if you work them out enough in a consistent way, Never Google Danger Force Season 2, Episode 1, worst mistake of my life. Says Nova. Well, now you're encouraging people to go Google that, so you know I'm going to have to later.
Alright, let me go and see what this is all about.
It says, Nova says slash J, so I think that's a joke.
Right, so Danger Force Season 2, Episode 1.
If it's really bad, don't say what it is. Oh, Pastor says troll face.
That's good.
Nice.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's funny right there.
It's fun as shit out there.
Wonder what the writers were doing there.
The pastor says I should Google it. Okay, hold on. I'll go Google it in another window. Danger Force? Danger Force
Season 2.
Season 2, Episode 1.
Episode 1.
Alright. I see. Amazing. What kind of last name does this guy have? Rick Twitler. That is such an awful name.
There's worse out there. There's Dick
Somebody called a meeting. Sorry, go ahead.
Among Us. My favorite animation, I think, well, one of my favorite animations I've seen is the Doom Among Us crossover.
That one's pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. I've also seen Among Us anime opening, and that one's funny.
Among Us is a really fun, simple game. It takes the idea of, let's give something to people and then let them cause chaos, and that's always a great idea.
I have to say, I think that in that vein of, like, the TTT, because that's the OG version of this, really. Actually, the OG version of this would be the game Werewolf or Assassin, which you played in a room with just a bunch of people, and you all talked and shook hands, and if somebody, you know, scratched the inside of your hand with their finger, that meant that they were the killer, and you had to count to 10 and then fall on the ground. And see if people could figure out who got you. But in that vein of, like, the Among Us game, I think that the one that's taken that concept and gone nuts with it is actually Goose Goose Duck. Goose Goose Duck has done a great job of expanding on that concept. You play as a goose, and you're trying to figure out who the ducks are, and there's all different really cool and interesting maps with fun little puzzles. They've updated much more often than Among Us has. And a lot of the new roles that are in Among Us are from that game. Which, in turn, has gotten its roles from the Yogscast's modded TTT with additional roles that they've got. So...
Fair enough.
Because as soon as I saw, like, oh, you know, there's a jester now who wants to be voted out, I'm like, that's from the Yogscast. Goose Goose Duck has that too. It's called the Dodo. There's also a role called the Dueling Dodo, in which there are two dodos, and if whichever one finishes their tasks first gains the ability to kill the other. So, that's like an exciting mad rush. Oh, Nova said, I had an acquaintance invite me to Goose Goose Duck recently. Is it any good? I didn't join because I was busy. I think that compared to Among Us, it is the superior game because there's more going on in it. And a lot of the killer roles are a lot of fun. It also has better, oh god, I'm
Better
blanking
angry
on... No, I'm blanking on the word I want. It's basically like when something goes wrong and they fix it.
Oh, repair sort of like tasks?
No, it's like if something goes wrong with the game, they put out a patch for it really quick.
Oh, updates?
Yeah, something like that. It updates way more often. Yeah, it updates way more often. Sorry, I wasn't talking about roles in the game. I was trying to talk about the company that made Goose Goose Duck. The problem is for Among Us is that unfortunately Among Us has a small team of people. And it's primarily a mobile game. So it doesn't have a lot of like service. It doesn't get updated as often, which is why I think Goose Goose Duck has pulled ahead in that regard. But it does have an engineer role. The engineer in this one, I believe, can... Oh, what can the engineer do in Goose Goose Duck? I think that they get notified when a trader, a trader, well, whatever, it's basically a trader. When a duck has activated a trap, like they get notified where that person was when it went off, and they can use whatever equivalent of the venting system may or may not be on that map. They can use hiding spots, and I think that they can. I think at one point they were able to stop instant game over countdowns, like, oh, someone sabotaged the reactor, everybody has to go over and fix it. I think they could fix it from the menu, but I don't think they can anymore because that was like really OP. But there's a lot of really fun killer roles. They've come up with different game modes. The newest one I've seen people playing is one called Numbers, where everyone gets assigned a number. Nobody knows what number you have at the beginning, but everybody gets to see what role that number chose. So you know what kind of things are in that game. So you're like, uh-oh, we have a dodo and a dueling dodo. We have a pigeon. The pigeon's goal is to infect everybody by sneezing on them. But they make a noise when they do it. So you have to make sure you don't get caught walking around going on people. There's the vulture, whose goal is to eat 3 corpses. They get notified immediately when a killer is killed. They have a new one called the pelican, where the pelican picks up... the pelican swallows players, so they're not dead yet. Other people can't hear them, but the pelican still can. So they can shout and yell while they're still inside the pelican to distract them. Hi, Mikey!
Hello!
Hey, hello, Michael.
Look it, here is our cabra. The little Chup.
Looks like a Stitch character.
You kinda do, don't he? Apparently, they look more like dogs when they're reported in the northern part of the Americas.
Almost like they could be
oh, they are almost
could be like a wild dog with mange.
Yes, and they're more lizard-like.
It all comes back to...
Yeah, it is once again,
animal with mange.
Cryptids are creatures with mange. In this case, it's either a raccoon or a coyote, probably, or some other kind of dog. I actually had some of them for reference in here. Not too bad, though, because, like I said, that was heartbreaking, and I wouldn't subject people to that. But I did find a raccoon with a genetic quirk that means that it only grew fur on its face and its hands, so it just naked the rest of it. But yeah, I was just answering, telling Nova about Goose Goose Duck, because she got invited to a game of that, and wasn't sure if it was like a good game or not, and I was saying I think it is. I think the pelican role is probably one of the most interesting ones, because like I said, they swallow other players, or they capture them in their waddle neck pouch. So other people can't hear the players who are stuck inside the pelican, but the pelican can. So you can try and distract them while you're stuck inside, because if somebody with a role that can kill, not necessarily a killer, but even like a sheriff or a vigilante, kills the pelican before a meeting is called, all the people stuck inside the pelican will pop out. But if a meeting gets called and you're inside the pelican swallows you and you're dead. So I thought that was kind of cool, that there are people like, that it's like, oh, this person doesn't seem like they're paying attention to me. Maybe they're a pelican, because they can't hear me over the victims shouting at them. Oh, there's a cannibal duck too, Nova, where you can eat one body. That's it. It's not like a vulture who has to eat 3. You can just eat 1. But it's also a killer role, so you can kill people too. There's the falcon who can kill anybody they want. They're on their own team, but as soon as there aren't any killers left, everybody gets the ability to kill the falcon. Nova says, I'm gonna get it. Is it on Steam? I actually don't know, because even though I know a lot about the game, I don't play it! You'd think I would with how much I'm praising it, but I don't. It might be on Steam.
Mike, now that you're here, there's 2 things I want to mention. First, I'd like you to check out the YouTube short that is there in the chat garbage. Secondly, I just took a look at old Roll Jam.
We were talking about terrible work environments also before, and David discovered a piece of info I didn't know. Which is that it's legal to severely underpay a disabled person for doing labor because they don't do it as quickly as other people.
Yeah.
And it was mandated to encourage employers to hire people who were disabled. And it's like, wow, that's really fucked up.
I think he paid as little as like $3.34 an hour.
I know. And that makes it especially bad when combined with the whole, if you have a disability and you're on disability, you can't possess more than $1,000. I think that might have gone up, but it didn't go up by a lot. And they're stupid. I know that part of the stupid thought process behind that is, well, you don't want them using their disability money to do something like go to the movies. And I'm like, why not? I use my paycheck to go to the movies.
You don't have to do fun things.
Yeah, I'm allowed. But it also means they can't, like...
What are paychecks?
Yeah. What are paychecks? Paychecks are a social construct. Like gender.
They're means for you to buy food and electricity
calendars.
And rent, and that's it.
And flaming hot Cheetos. What am I saying?
You're only allowed to do the very bare minimum.
But also, don't forget to spend. Gender is a social deconstruct. I destroyed my gender, says Nova. You are correct.
I need to start working harder at voice acting. I want to earn like $1,000 a week.
Why did I make the forelimbs so small when I made them way longer on this one? What am I doing? Pay attention to your own design, Alex. Jeez.
Here's something cool you might like, Alex. Oh, I'm looking for old robot designs for like a thing that I was thinking about. This is a submarine armor from 1910.
Let me see.
Straight up looks like something from Iron Harvest.
It kinda does.
BioShock.
Yeah, BioShock 2.
I am I'm fairly confident that one of the units from Iron Harvest was actually directly inspired by this. I'll pull up in a
That
second.
wouldn't surprise me either.
Like, I know there's definitely the first one I linked is definitely referenced in Iron Harvest because it just looks like a straight up gas boiler, and that's basically what that mech in Iron Harvest is.
Yeah, this thing. I love the mech designs from Iron Harvest. They look
Time
fantastic.
to make head big. Ah. Cool. Nova did find Goose Goose Duck on Steam, and they are downloading it for the next time they get invited. Excellent.
So, you remember how I had like an idea for a mechanist for D&D? Basically an inventor class. So, I gotta explain to me that like 9th level spells for D&D characters like the wizard aren't necessarily meant to be used by the player, even though they can be. Some spells are there with more for the intention for the DM to use them against the player.
Yeah, because players are severely limited in the number of level 9 spells they can have.
Yeah.
I thought do a similar thing where you have the option to get a colossal mech, something that's like a gargantuan size. I was like, what kind of stuff would I do with that, and what kind of stuff would I would use to be inspired by that. And I was thinking, go for like really retro sort of design-wise, something along the lines of the Iron Giant or Liberty Prime, something for 1950s.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about what I'd do with that. I was thinking like that first one, the mysterious Dr. Satan, whatever it is.
Something's being cooked downstairs. I think it might be a quiche.
A very large, completely round robot would actually be what I'd go for. I mean, this is my personal idea of what it would be like. It's up to the player or the DM. They're very specific about certain traits. Like, it can't feel, well, it's meant to be a piloted thing, so it can't feel where a person is, but it has limited vision, things like that.
Yeah.
On this one, I think it'd be a very cool idea, which is it has resistance to lightning damage, but if you manage to do 75 points of lightning damage to it in a single turn, it gets stunned until the start of its next turn, when it has to use up all of its movement in order to end the stun.
Nova says on the topic of D&D that I'm shoving myself into. I have such a cool idea for a character, but I cannot find a party to play with in my city, and I am furious. There's actually a lot of online ones that like to meet in places like Roll20 if you look for them, Nova. Actually got invited, and I can give you a link too because they want people to join. A D&D themed Discord, specifically for people looking to host games or join them or just share stuff in general. So if you want a link to that, I can give it to you later. Shoulder tuft.
I don't know why, but it's aesthetically pleasing about this robot.
I think it's his little newt face. Newt.
Oh no, I mean like the round one. When I just looked at robots.
I haven't seen anybody be belligerent to anyone. It seems like it's accepting of all people, Nova. Obviously, if you see any nastiness, feel free to, like, flee. But I haven't seen anybody be mean to anybody. I've just seen lots of people talking all excitedly about the games they want to play. It's quiet a lot of the time, but people are always sharing, like, art or ideas or maps and stuff, or being like, oh, I'm so-and-so, and I'm looking to join this kind of game. I've seen people playing games in their chats, though I have not joined them.
Here we go.
I thought about putting a fluffy little chicken in this guy's hands, but it would be more apt to, like, put a goat. But then I'd have to draw a goat. And it would be about the same size as our little Chupacabra, so...
Yeah, you already did a goat recently.
Yeah, the Goat Man. Goat Man vs. Chupacabra. Movie when?
He's out for... The Goat Man is out for revenge. The Chupacabra is out for his next snack.
I mean, the Goat Man... I guess if I'd put money on it, probably the Goat Man, because the Goat Man has an axe. And is the size of a human. But the Chupacabra is probably really fast, so... Who knows?
If the goat man is capable of using an axe, then I can figure out how to use a gun.
Set up traps on its bridge for the Chupacabra. Be like a weird Freddy versus Jason thing where there's just like a bunch of teens caught in the middle and they're like, we just wanted to make out on the bridge, oh no! We didn't know there was a Chupacabra there!
Okay, I am going to see you guys later. I'm gonna
Alrighty.
get ready for bed.
Alright, you have a good night.
Yeah, everyone. Bye.
Bye!
Bye-bye.
You actually missed a really funny intro, by the way, Mikey.
What's up? What happened?
David did a Spanish accent.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Speedy Gonzalez kind of accent, and introduced himself as the Chupacabra. And I said, David, Chupacabra confirmed. And he goes, no, I'm not from Mexico, and I'm a vegetarian. I'm not the Chupacabra. And I said, that's what the Chupacabra would say.
Real.
That was really funny. I was very proud of that interaction.
It's good.
Definitely a funny moment. I don't know, maybe towards the end of the year, even though that's not that far away, maybe I should make a montage. Oh, welcome back, Ferb. I hope your appointment was good. Alright, Nova posted something. I'll see what it says. Oh, the idea for the character. Nova's idea for character is the character itself is this girl that is a fighter with a super high strength and constitution, but she's the sweetest little bean, but she can suspiciously use magic, and she carries around this really big backpack. The arc that I would want her to have in the campaign is that she gets really defensive when people ask her about her giant backpack, and inside of it is the real character. I don't remember what classes have mind control spells, but that magic wielder has been essentially controlling this girl's mind for the whole campaign.
Ooh, I had a similar idea.
I know that there's some bards that can do that, and warlocks, but yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
For a character that is actually a thrall to a mind flayer.
The mind flayer lives in the backpack.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good idea, Nova.
Yeah. Ooh, Ferb loves the Chupacabra. They say, I love Creepy Choopy. I want to love it and take it on walkies. It does look like it would bark at everything. Well, it wouldn't bark, it would like hiss.
To me, it just literally looks like one of the creatures in the Stitch TV show. Like in the Lilo and Stitch TV show, it looks like one of those little guys.
Like chewing on slippers.
Oh, Haggis family.
I also don't know why I'm really liking this, like, snooty lifting head, tilting it up to, like, glare at you face for the little chibis, but this is, like, the third time I've done that, and I'm really liking the pose, though. It's not as dynamic as some of the other ones, but it's really cute. To pay homage to the fact that it's a creature, it's definitely just like a coyote with mange. I gave it hair tufts. It's got one above each eye, like big, majestic eyebrows.
Heck yeah.
Oh! Congratulations, Ferb! Today, Ferb got their new driver's license with their new name. Hooray!
Real good.
That's awesome! Congratulations! Yay, Pastor's cheering, Nova is cheering for them too. Keep accidentally calling Nova by their screen name. Oh well. Oh nice! Next year, Nova's going to change their name as well. Actually, a lot of friends who've changed their name, both trans and otherwise. I had a friend who changed his name just because he didn't like it.
I had a friend in high school who changed her name. Though not for a good reason.
Oh. I'm kind of curious.
They did it because they were very obsessed with BioShock.
Oh.
And they changed their name to Booker.
That's like a more extreme version of like getting a tattoo you really regret later.
Yeah. I mean, BioShock is good and all, but it wouldn't change my identity to be like the main character from BioShock.
Does anybody really want to be Booker? Doesn't he?
I don't think so.
Doesn't he do a lot of really awful things?
It's complicated. It has to do with like multiple timelines and dimensions and stuff.
Oh, Ferb has shared their new name with us. It's Caden.
Nice.
Caden's a good name.
Every time I think of Caden, I think of Mass Effect.
It makes me think of Kanan also from Star Wars Rebels. Because I always accidentally call him Caden.
He does sound like a Caden.
He does. Thankfully, though, he doesn't call Hera. He doesn't call her Lola. Which really is Caden's only sin. Is that he calls you Lola, if you're a girl, whether you like it or not.
Caden doesn't do that.
I thought that was Caden.
Nope, that's James.
Oh!
James Vega calls
James calls you Lola. Okay.
And if you're a male, he calls you Loco.
Loco. Where you been, Loca? Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity.
I don't know why they set it up for him to flirt with you, because he's actually not a romance option.
I know, and you can like be like, "Hey man, I'm a flirt with you now," and he's like, "Oh no."
Though I found it interesting. James Vega wasn't very popular when the game first launched, but with the Legendary Edition, a lot of new people came in to play it, and a lot of people really like James, like visually and temperamentally, but a lot of women in particular really seem to like James. Which just goes to show that, inclusion does matter.
Ferb says that they got inspiration for the name when they were looking at posts with dogs, and there was a really nice one named Caden, and that's when Ferb decided that would be their name.
Well, congratulations.
Congrats. And Nova says, I've talked about this on my Twitter, but I've been testing out alternate names recently because name flu would go Nova is always the main one, though. There's only like a small handful of names I'm aware of that are completely neutral, and then some that are neutral on a technicality, but only because they used to be associated with one gender and are now associated with the other, like Ashley. Ashley used to be a guy's name, and now if you were like, oh yeah, my name's Ashley, people would be like, so
Which
girl?
is funny because the main character in the Evil Dead series, that's his name.
Yeah, and people call him Ash. And the male lead romance dude in Gone with the Wind's name is Ashley. Funnily enough, that is where my female friend Ashley's name came from, or well, former friend. Her mother watched Gone with the Wind and decided that she really liked the character of Ashley, and decided to name her daughter that. Which is kind of an interesting story. Like, oh, huh, okay. My name came from Gone with the Wind.
I actually don't know why my parents decided to name me.
I don't know why mine named me my name either. I guess I should ask. I can ask. I mean, when I go downstairs to get dinner later, I'll be like, Mother, tell me, why did name? She'll be like, what? Like, why did you give me this name?
I know why they picked my middle name, but I don't know why they picked my first name.
Yeah, I know that my middle name is the name of my great grandmother. Nova wants to know if it is which way Ashley is spelled. It is spelled the first way. Ashley. Ah. Ferb says that they think their mother chose their previous name because a celebrity had it? Maybe?
I know that a lot of people are going to be named Khaleesi.
Oh, probably. I mean, there's a lot of kids named Edward and Bella now, too. Edward, Bella, and Jacob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's also a lot of kids named Naruto and Sasuke, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? Good for you guys.
Jojo.
Rocket. Jojo. Joseph. I mean, that one will be a little harder to figure out until their parents call them Jojo. Then you'll know. Nova says, my dead name comes from the Bible, which, I mean, I don't want to religion shame, but that made it even worse for me. Again, nothing against it, but it's not for me. I can see that. Yeah. And Ferb says, yeah, unfortunately, religion is a source of a lot of trauma for a lot of people. Yeah. It's unfortunate. But that's why I don't mind. That's why I don't think that anybody who's religious should be offended if somebody is like, nope, not for me. Because if it works out for you, then great. But I mean, you can't pretend it doesn't go after a bunch of other people. It's one of those situations where it's like, oh, but I'm not that way. Well, okay, then that means we're not talking about you, so good. Doesn't remove all the other times it sucked. This chibi version of him looks like a squirrel gone awry. Yeah, mutant squirrel hanging around Chernobyl. That's Ferb. Exactly. You just see it run across the ground and you're like, oh, that's why we're not supposed to be here. That's right. I know there were a lot of mutated creatures in Fallout, but I'm trying to remember if squirrels were ever one of them. I think squirrels were just squirrels.
Actually, I think I read something recently about how the Ukrainian government is actually sterilizing some of the animals that are in the Chernobyl exclusion zone because there's a concern that they might try to start leaving the zone and breeding with other animals, which might cause like really weird mutations in the local populations.
That actually might be a good idea, all things considered. Oh, something to be sorry for, Nova. It's okay. Nova said, I didn't get that that meant Chernobyl until Alex said it out loud. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Every once in a while, I hit a word that I should definitely know how to spell, but I'm like, well, my brain just deleted that information. Time to guess. Did it get a red squiggly line under it? No? Must be right. You mean it wasn't right at all? Well, shit. Dag nabbit. Almost done with the boy. I always just refer to everything cute as boy until I know.
Boy is just, it just rolls off the tongue.
It's just become almost a gender neutral term for me, like dude. I mean, it's not, obviously, but it's almost become that for me, because when I say it, I don't necessarily mean that the creature is male. I'm just like, oh, it's just a little boy.
What's the difference between boy, B-O-Y, and B-O-I?
Yeah, he's a little boy with an eye. Look at this little boy. This little spiky rat.
Also, dude is totally gender neutral. I hear girls call each other dude all the time.
Oh yeah, dude is 100% gender neutral. Herb shouted spicy rat. Nova says when somebody calls me boy and I gotta figure out if they're being flattering or derogatory / joke. You're like, come back. Tell me, were you being endearing or were you being a butt? You're legally obligated to tell me. You have to tell me, it's the law. Ferb says boy is right is okay for me but still not right. Well, that's why I'll just refer to you as dude. This dude is gender
Everyone
neutral.
is dude.
Everyone is dude. One gender, other gender, no gender, all gender, undefined gender. You are dude. All are dude.
Unless you're not, unless you're unchill.
This
People
is
who
true.
Are not chill
People who are not chill are not
dude.
dude. They're just an ass. Ferb says, my friends greet me with binch, because I also greet them with binch. That's funny. I mean, I greet my friends with bitch sometimes. I've popped into calls before and been like, sup, bitches?
You've called me a bitch.
Yep. Affectionately. I'll pop into a call and go, what's up, fluffy bitchkins? Which makes it especially funny that that is the thing I chose to have Dee Dee yell at the monster in the page I haven't finished yet. Is sup, fluffy bitchkins? Yeah, hey bitch, affectionate. Oh, gotta go? Okay, bye-bye, Nova! Nova says, I have to go, unfortunately. Being invited over for Overwatch 2. Have fun with drawing. Once you're done, feel free to shoot me a DM on Discord for that D&D server invite. Okay.
Good luck with Overwatch 2. Don't get peer pressured into buying overpriced skins.
Yeah, don't buy overpriced skins, especially ones that are disappointing.
I guess I can't get over the Junker Queen legendary.
The Junker
Like,
Queen
oh my
one is
God.
terrible. Like,
The
what?
other ones are so good. I just don't know what happened with the design process.
Yeah, they were
for
like,
Junker
what if
Queen.
it was just her regular outfit but browner? And less decorative. Bye! Yeah, Ferb says, go buy a Squishmallow instead. At least then you'll have something physical. Buy a plushie.
Yes, because then during the end times you can convert it into a bandage or something.
During the zombie
So,
apocalypse, you can
practical
build your...
application.
During the zombie apocalypse, you can build yourself armor out of the Squishmallow. Human teeth can't get through it. Duh. Right.
I'm actually convinced that if there is going to be end times, not going to be nukes, not even going to be climate change. I think we'll make it through climate change. But I think zombies. I think zombies will legitimately be our downfall.
Yeah. And the thing is that I bet that we'll be the ones who made them. But like, whoops, well, we made that.
No.
No?
It'll be partially our fault. It'll be some kind of really weird, like, disease that was, like, tucked away in the ice caps or something.
Oh, like we like in the X-Files, it's like, oops, we opened it up and a horrible parasite came out and then people refused to get the vaccine for it and nobody would wear their protective gear and now there are zombies. Well, shit.
In the book World War Z, there's a whole it's separated into 3 acts.
Mm-hmm.
Not literally, but you can easily look at like when one act begins and the other ends.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this whole portion, the mid section of the book called The Great Panic, and I am terrified at how accurate Max Brooks's like prediction of how American culture would adapt to a plague.
Which is that they just didn't.
Well, so what happens is there's a pretty large chunk of people who don't think it's real. There's another chunk of people who think that the best way to stop it is through appeasement, and so they try to act like zombies, and the zombies know that they're not zombies, so the zombies just fucking eat them.
Oh my God.
And then there's a bunch of
I feel like that's
people who
making
are,
fun of The Walking Dead.
Yes. Snake oil salesman. The snake oil salesman
No,
have the cure, like you can cure people with it and stuff. So
you can cure a zombie with ivermectin.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, drink some drink
the hand sanitizer and you'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Take lupus medication and you'll just be cured. Basically, what winds up happening is that the U.S. government winds up. This is probably the most unrealistic part because the U.S. government actually does have an action plan in the event of a zombie apocalypse.
I know we do.
But because the U.S. government was initially unprepared because they have to pull our military back from the Middle East because at the time this was written, this was right after the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. So we have to pull our troops back, and then they try to stop the horde that has formed in New York City in what's called the Battle of Yonkers. And the U.S. military gets actually fucked. Like the U.S. military tries to do a big show of force to communicate to the rest of the U.S. population that, oh, don't worry, we have this under control, and their troops get very rapidly overwhelmed because I mean, they don't know what the fuck they're getting into. And so the U.S. government winds up moving the bulk of leadership onto a mobile fleet in the Pacific. And the general American population flees northern to northern reaches like Canada and also to the Rocky Mountains. And the whole West Coast, all the states on the West Coast beyond the Rocky Mountains become separated into green, yellow, and red zones. The red zones are do not go there because zombies are all over the fucking place. Yellow zones are neighborhoods that have security forces constantly patrolling the area. And then the green zones are places that are relatively safe. They only have the occasional outbreak. And this goes on for a couple of years, actually. And it covers what other countries do, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason the United States arguably does better than most of the other countries. But the only reason it does is because it has such a fucking huge military.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but I gotta wrap up the thing.
Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. That's why I waited patiently. I didn't want to interrupt you. But yes, I want to thank everybody who came today, although several of them had to go already. But, you know, if they watched the rest of this later, I want them to know I was glad they were here. I'm glad that you joined me, Mikey. I'm glad that David joined us also. Let's see what tomorrow is. Tomorrow
May he rest in
is...
peace.
Yes. Tomorrow's cryptid is the Tetzel worm, which I think is Big Snake. Could be wrong. I think it's like Big Snake, but more so, but funky. I picked it because it sounded cool. So potentially Big Snake. Let me have a look at it really quick. What is the Tetzel worm? Google that thing. Tetzel worm. Oh, it's Norse. And it looks something like depending on how you draw it, it looks like a Chinese style dragon. Or a not bobcat, or a lynx with a snake for the rest of its body. So it's a cat snake. It's a cake. So tomorrow there will be cake. Or cank. Cank. There will be cank tomorrow. But yes. Thank you everybody who came to join me and who came to watch. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. As always, all my social links are below the video, both here on Twitch and on YouTube also, which includes link to my comics, my social media, and to my Patreon if you would like to support me. Supporting at any level will get you access to the Discord, and supporting at higher levels will get you early access to things and also free art. So there is that. But yes, I had fun. Hope you have fun. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye!
Bye-bye.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers over on Patreon, and give a special shout out to Jack Fox, Old Monster, Dizarin, and Revolution72. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. I'd also like to give a big thank you to everyone else watching. If you enjoyed the video, let me know with a like and a comment. Be sure to have a look at the other videos on my channel, and subscribe so you never miss a new one. Links to my Patreon, Twitch, and all my other socials are in the description below the video. I hope I'll see you next time. Bye bye!